All right, we are back on the TCGHQ channel at yet another convention event. I'm Nick with TCGHQ, and today we are at MagicCon Atlanta with a little bit of a challenge. You see, MagicCon doesn't come around to Atlanta very often, and this is the largest Magic the Gathering convention on Earth. This is the place to find every card that you could possibly ever imagine or need for this game. And I am in a bit of a dilemma. I have a Commander deck that I have to build for our video in a few weeks. I'm currently building a Black Panther deck, and I only have 40 of my 100 cards that I need. So today, we're going to be going around MagicCon Atlanta, trying to get all of the cards that I need for this deck before the hall closes. I've got 8 hours. Let's do it. Alright, as both competitive and casual Magic players know, there are a lot of different conventions that you can play Magic at, including one that we've already been to on this channel, Gen Con. But MagicCon is the one where Magic takes the center stage and is the entirety of the event. We're trying to get cards that's going to fill out this Black Panther deck. Black Panther is a deck that cares about creatures entering the battlefield so you can put counters on your lands, and then moving the counters from the lands onto creatures to make them powerful so you can gain life and draw cards. Seems pretty good, right? But we don't even own the Commander yet. So I'm going to go get my badge, and we're going to see what we can do about finishing this deck. I'll show you guys what I already have soon, and then we'll try to find the rest. All right, y'all. Looks like we found everybody. Let's take a look. Alright, so it is of course the Friday of MagicCon, which means there are a ton of people trying to get their badge, so I'm about to get in this line, and we're going to see how long it takes. I just got a regular badge, which comes with a promo card, I think, so I'm looking forward to getting that, but where do I find it is the question. Right here, thank you. Hey there, got my QR code here. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Plenty of options to choose from, but we went with purple. This is a Friday only badge, which means that we have only today to complete the Commander deck that we're trying to finish. It is about 10:22 a.m. last I checked, and that means that we have just under 8 hours to finish what we need to do. Okay, so immediately I'm getting hit with a ton of different really recognizable stores, recognizable brands. We've got Heavy Play sleeves, we've got Dragon Shield, we've got Ultimate Guard, we've got Squaros, and on top of that we've got heavy hitting Magic stores like Stomping Grounds and Cool Stuff. And then of course I find myself, just as I'm walking, I'm in Artists Alley with some of the most iconic Magic the Gathering artists in the game right now. Of course, that is one of the main reasons some people come to these conventions, is to talk to their favorite artists that did their favorite cards, get them signed. But I'm just interested in soaking all of this in, getting some stuff, and focusing on buying our cards that we need to get. And that is going to be a challenge because we have a lot of cards that vary from, you know, a couple dollars to a ton of, you know, super expensive lands and staples and things like that. And as you know, I have to bling things out. I'm a foil fiend, as I established in the Gen Con video, so we're just gonna have to figure out how to get the fanciest possible versions of all the cards that we need with the limited time that we have. You know what, let's try to find a spot to sit down, and we're gonna go over everything that I have and everything that I don't have. Because that's really going to give us a better understanding of what we need to go ahead and look for on top of just the regular staples. All right, guys, so I did find a place to sit down for a second, but we currently have the 40 cards that we're working with. We've got Ouroboros, which is one of the best cards from the Edge of Eternity set. A very powerful card that lets you put 1/1 counters on every creature you control for how strong Ouroboros is. And of course, this card is really beautiful. We have it in extended art foil here. So as we recall, we'll go ahead and pop in the Black Panther card on the screen now. Black Panther is a Selesnya creature, which means that what it's trying to do is it's trying to put a bunch of creatures on the board. It's trying to synergize with landfall, synergize with counters, and this is going to be a Selesnya mana value as well. So you're looking at 1 white and 1 green. Not only that, but this card wants you to be having creatures enter the battlefield. once we have creatures entering the battlefield, we can synergize with a bunch of different landfall triggers and counters and things like that, because every time Black Panther puts a creature onto the battlefield, whenever he's out and you put a creature onto the battlefield, that will trigger his ability. And that ability puts a 1/1 counter on a land you control. On top of that, he has an activated ability where you can move all the counters from a land you have onto a creature you have. So that's going to proc things like when you put counters on something, if you have like Hardened Scales or Doubling Season, you'll actually double those numbers. And on top of that, you can synergize by having more lands out using things like Landfall. Not only is Rampaging Baloths just a generically powerful card in green, this is going to be a card that's going to actually help us in two different ways. We have a landfall trigger, so every time we're putting a land on the board, we're going to be creating a token, and then when that token enters the battlefield, that's going to trigger Black Panther's ability, which will then let us put a counter onto a land. And then, of course, we Want a Shrubbery from the Monty Python and the Holy Grail Secret Lair. That's a reskin of 3 visits, a powerful ramp card. We have Loading Zone. If one or more counters will be put on a creature, spacecraft, or planet you control, twice that many of those counters are put on it instead, and it has a warp cost of 1. So whenever you move a counter in Magic the Gathering, it triggers this ability because you're technically removing it from the first thing and putting them on the second thing. So twice the number of counters will go on the creature when we use Black Panther's activated ability, and you can cast this for its warp cost of 1, making it even more powerful. We're going to go ahead and put this card to the side for a second while we go ahead and talk about the rest of the deck. We've got Kami of Whispered Hopes. Beautiful card, one of my favorite arts of the last few years. If one or more +1/+1 counters will be put on a permanent you control, that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead, or on that permanent, and then tap, add X mana of any one color, where X is Kami of Whispered Hope's power. So this one's good because it counts 1/1 counters on permanents. So we're talking about putting 1/1 counters on lands. This counts that. So we're putting extra counters on our lands. That's really powerful, and we really want to see that. We have a beautiful Surge Foil Waka, Devoted Guardian, a 4 mana value Selesnya creature, human warrior. This is just a really solid utility piece for Selesnya decks. I actually don't know a world in which I don't want this card in a Selesnya deck. One, because he's generically powerful with Reach and Trample. And then, check this effect out. Whenever Waka deals combat damage to a player, destroy up to 1 target artifact that player controls and put a +1/+1 counter on Waka. So, we're talking this guy's removal and he gets stronger. And he's got the Blitzball Captain ability. At the beginning of your end step, if a counter was put on Waka this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's really powerful in this list. We absolutely want this card in. Then we've got a board wipe in the form of Austere Command. I've already gone ahead and grabbed some lands, so like Sungrass Prairie, not super exciting. It's just one of the Selesnya lands I had lying around in my collection. Hardened Scales, one of the +1/+1 counter synergies. Exotic Orchard, just good land. Canopy Vista, land. Marshal's Anthem. So Marshal's Anthem is pretty good. This is going to be a 4 mana value enchantment with multi-kicker of 1 and a white. Creatures you control get +1/+1, but we're more interested in the second ability. When Marshal's Anthem enters the battlefield, return up to X target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of times Marshal's Anthem is kicked. So if our board is getting interacted with and we're in a late game state where we need to replenish, this enchantment is going to come in clutch, because we can just tap out and play a bunch of different things from our graveyard. Really exciting card, and I have it in Surge Foil, so you know it has to go in the deck. We, of course, have Securitron Squadron, one of the star cards from the Fallout decks. It's a 1 and a white artifact creature robot with Squad 3 Vigilance, and whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, but a +1/+1 counter on it, we, of course, will be making tokens in a variety of different ways, including Secure the Wastes, create X 1/1 white warrior creature tokens. We've got Inspiring Call, draw a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it, and those creatures gain indestructible, so a way to draw cards and save our board. Rampaging Yaoguai, Vigilance, Trample, X and 3 green. It enters with X 1/1 counters on it, and then when it enters the battlefield, we destroy any number of target artifacts and or enchantments with total mana value X or less. We're using a couple different planeswalkers in this deck. We've got Nissa, who shakes the world, just, you know, a staply green planeswalker with some abilities that we are interested in using. That +1 synergizes directly with what Black Panther's trying to do, because we're putting counters on a land untapping it, and then turning it into a creature. So we can then use that land as a creature immediately instead of having to use Black Panther's ability. So once we play her, we can turn one of our juiced up lands into a creature. We've got Flawless Maneuver from the Captain America Secret Lair to protect our board. Very flavorful from Marvel. We, of course, have Soul Ring. Soul Ring is actually one that we may want to cut because we're in white and green. There's a lot of landfall synergies, but, of course, when you're making your first calls on a commander deck, you put Soul Ring in there because Soul Ring is so powerful. But when you're ramping so much as we're going to do, you don't really need it. Maybe this is a hot take, but I personally find myself in a lot of my green decks thinking Soul Ring is, you know, the 99th or 100th card in a deck, because if we're playing, you know, if we're ramping on turn 1 and 2, that's just as good as playing Soul Ring. So we'll see. It's in the deck right now, of course, because it's so powerful, but we'll have to see where we're at once we get the rest of our cards. Prosperous Innkeeper, a staple green card with a really solid ETB effect of creating a treasure, and then whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. We, of course, have Toski, Bearer of Secrets, in the SpongeBob art with sandy cheeks. Very solid green staple. Llanowar Elves, very good mana dork. District Mascot, it enters with some counters. You can remove counters to destroy an artifact, and then whenever it becomes saddled, you can put a +1. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, put a +1/+1 counter on it with a saddle value of 1. Bright Glass Gear Hulk, a way to get out a lot of our cheaper things. Ancient Bronze Dragons for more shenanigans. And then, as far as I know, yeah, the rest of the deck is just our basic lands. We're playing 8 of each basic land, and then we're going to fill out the rest of the mana base with around 18 or so non-basic lands, some of which are already in the deck, so that we can get a fully effective mana base. Okay, so that was a lot, right? That's what we have. And as you noticed, and as I mentioned, we don't currently have the Black Panther Commander, so he has to be one of our first cards. We, of course, also have to get a Windswept Heath. We have to get a Lush Portico, the Surveil Selesnya land from Karlov Manor. We're also looking for our Shock, and we're looking for a ton of other staples in these colors that will really help this deck. But the secret sauce that we actually have is this is a sleeper agent deck. So, in these colors, whenever you have counters on permanents, you can proliferate them, right? But whenever you proliferate, you also have the opportunity to proliferate things that are on other players. So, this is the first card that we're looking to use in this deck. This is a Johnny Sleeper Agent. He is a Planeswalker from the, I do believe, Dominaria United set. And the whole thing about him that I absolutely love is his last ability. And it reads, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a creature or Planeswalker spell, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. So, a sub-theme of the deck is poison. Poison is an alternative win condition in Commander and in Magic the Gathering as a whole, where if one of your opponents gets 10 poison counters, they are eliminated from the game. It's an alternative win con. And about 10 or so of the slots of this deck are going to be dedicated to poison, which will then be able to enable us for our proliferate strategies to go even more, because we're going to be playing proliferate cards anyway in these colors. We have this deck built in Moxfield, and we'll put that Moxfield link in the description so that you can see where it's at. We'll save it at the point where it's at right now, and we'll also have a link to where it was updated to. Currently, that Moxfield leak has 104 cards, so we're really close to a clean 100, but we have to make 4 cuts somewhere, which is one of the reasons I was mentioning that when we were talking about Soul Ring. Now we know where we're at. We know what cards we have to go for. If you did not see one of the cards that I just put down on that Moxfield link currently, that means that we still need to get it. So we have to go ahead and get a move on. I've spent a lot of time talking and not enough time buying cards. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of these different vendors and try to figure out what we need to get our hands on, who has what. If we can get our hands on the Black Panther Secret Lair itself sealed, I'm going to open that on camera and put those cards immediately into the deck. We'll try to fit all of them. I think all of them are going to synergize really well here, naturally, because the cards were put in with the Black Panther Commander. So if we find that, that'll make life a little easy. That's us knocking out, I think, 5 or 6 at a time, which would be helpful. But yeah, we've got a lot of walking to do, a lot of talking and buying to do. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. This is going to be a really fun day. So something that doesn't happen a lot when we're at these shows is I am having extreme decision paralysis right now. Because if you look around me, everything that you see behind me is a vendor. There are probably 24 different big name vendors that have massive selections of cards. And I'm going around, I'm scanning, and I'm seeing, you know, so many of Magic's most popular, you know, expensive cards all at these different vendors. And I'm like, where do I stop? What do I look at? I just need to pick one, scan through the case, talk to the guys at the front. But there's just so many cards to look at, so many stations to check out. I'm sure we'll make a good dent into this deck real soon here, but man, there is so much to look at. MagicCon is really cool. Wow. Okay, and now we found the expensive stuff. Always fun to look here, but I don't know how successful it'll be if we want to drop the money on these. That is not going to get us our finished deck, but they are always really cool to see, and there's a ton of them in the room. I think I'm ready to go. Are you good with going on an adventure with me? Cool. So I've got 11 different cards. The first one is going to be the Blightsteel Colossus that's over here. I'm going to do the foil borderless one, the $75 one. So we're going to do the Branchloft Pathway foil here. This one. Yep, that one exactly. I'm going to do the foil borderless Delighted Halfling, please. Yeah, one of those. We're going to do the foil Goose Mother Doubling Season. Let's do the $45 foil Elspeth. All right, we're about halfway done. I've got a Farewell. Where is the Farewell? That $17 one? That exactly, yep. Okay, and now I'm jumping to the T's. We're going to Teferi's Protection. All right, I'm taking this guy on a wild ride to get 11 of our most expensive and hard to get cards. We really got to do it here. Okay, so for the Teferi's Protection, we're going to go with the foil Japanese alt art here, the $75 one. Yep, that's the one. And then we're going to go this foil Temple Garden here, this one. 4 more cards here. I'm going to go for the borderless One Ring. That one, the $75 one. I'm going to go for the Ozolith, the $55 Ozolith. That's the Argonath reskinned right there. One back. I'm going to take the regular border $30 Trouble in Pairs. Then last card I need is going to be this $17 extended art foil Windswept Teeth. Okay, and we got there.
503.
503 it is. Let's do it. What's the store's username?
Should be CM Games.
At CM Games? All right, Card Monster Games, Inc.?
Yeah.
And you said how much?
It'll be 503 and then a $1 convenience fee, so 504.
504, you got it. All right, we got it. Hey, I've got a question for you real quick. Do you guys have the Black Panther Commander or the Secret Lair?
Like the card Black Panther.
Yeah. I'll buy the sealed Secret Lair if you have it, but
I won't have the sealed.
Okay.
I don't see it, man.
Okay, no problem. I appreciate you checking for me. Thank you. All right, swing and a miss. On to the next one. Okay, attempt number 2, Stomping Grounds. Okay, after waiting in line for a while at Stomping Grounds, they did not have the cards, so now we're going to go try a few more. So far, we are at 2 swings, 2 misses. I'm a little surprised. It came out of a Secret Lair, and people love selling Secret Lair cards, so I don't know. Hopefully this won't take too long. If I can't find the Commander, we're in trouble. Okay, attempt number 3, Star City Games. Let's try it. Hi, I am looking for a card. I'm looking for a foil copy of Black Panther. Oh, there he is. Perfect. I'll take him. Thank you so much. You did it. Okay, $15 for Black Panther. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, after 3 stores, we did it. We got the Black Panther Commander, y'all. Let's do it. All right, we're going to sit down. We're going to sleeve up these cards we just bought, and we're going to see where we're at. All right, guys, we have sleeved up the cards that we just got from CM Games. Let's take a look at all of these. So we have Blightsteel Colossus, which is one of the potential endgame cards that we have in this deck. It synergizes a little bit with the sub-engine of Infect that we're going for. And of course, in a green deck, when you're ramping, more than likely, at some point in the game, we will be able to hard cast this from our hand, regardless of if we're actually infecting our opponents or not. He has Trample, Infect, and Indestructible, and he never goes away. So he's one of the most powerful cards in the format, of course. Many of you are familiar with him, and I think that he's a really good endgame piece here. Then, of course, we have the Delighted Halfling, which I don't actually think is in the Moxfield list, but we will be finding room for it, just because it keeps our commander protected when we want to cast him early. We, of course, have Doubling Season. Normally, I'm actually not a huge fan of putting Doubling Season in my decks because it's very slow, theoretically very powerful. The effect is, of course, objectively powerful, but you're spending 5 mana to cast it, and if you have not successfully ramped, it can be very slow. It can be the one card you play into the turn, and then because, of course, it's a hate magnet, somebody could remove it, and then you wasted a turn playing it. But in this specific deck, because Black Panther's triggered ability can be done, so many different ways in this deck, I thought Doubling Season would be a good inclusion, so we did buy a copy, and I just love this goose art. It's hilarious. Moving on, we have Elspeth Stormslayer. Actually has a similar ability to Doubling Season. It'll let us double our tokens when we create tokens. Her +1 creates a token. And then, of course, for 0, we can put a counter on everything. It also acts as a removal if we need it to. A very classic removal piece, Farewell, from the Kamigawa set. Teferi's Protection, in my personal favorite art for Teferi's Protection. The One Ring, we're gaining a lot of life in this deck, so the burden counters don't really matter as much. We're not going to be proliferating them, of course, but we do like this card a lot just because it draws so many cards. The Ozolith, if any of our creatures get taken out with counters on them after we put them on them, the Ozolith is a great way to protect that. Trouble in Pairs is a good way to keep other people from being out of turn when it comes to taking extra turns. We have them skip that, and then if we get attacked, or if they play the game, really, we draw extra cards, which we like. And then, of course, we have a trifecta of lands, Windswept Teeth, Temple Garden, and, of course, the Selesnya Pathway that comes in as either a green land or a white land, depending on what you need. So, currently, we're looking pretty good. And of course, from Star City Games, we got Black Panther himself. So we are about halfway done with the deck. I do need to tune how many basic lands I'm running. I have those here, just making sure that I have enough of those. But those are pretty much accounted for. Of course, I would like to keep them all the same. These are the Streets of New Capenna lands. But we may need to grab a few more bulk ones just to finish the deck. Right now, I am feeling pretty good. I think the main worry that we have is going to be acquiring a lot of the cheaper ones. So there's a lot of quarter uncommons from sets like Phyrexia that have good stats on them. They have keywords like Double Strike that will hit for more poison counters, hit for more damage. And of course, we can make these guys really big, so even if we're not poisoning them, we're still hitting for a lot should they get through. I'm also thinking about ways to make things unblockable in these colors. I'm thinking about ways to give flying in these colors. Fortunately, we have Elspeth to do that as well. There's a lot of different ways that we could go at this point. We've acquired a really solid core that works with Black Panther. Now is the time to really lock in on where we want this deck to go and make changes to the Moxfield deck list so that we can really push it to where we can get the victory in our Commander video in the coming weeks. We're not done quite yet. It is currently 12:26 actually, to be specific. So that means we've spent about 2.5 hours of our 8 hours trying to figure out how to get our core cards, and I feel like we've really nailed that down. Now we're going to focus on locking in on those smaller strategies that exist within the deck and really trying to finish out this 100. We have plenty of time, but there is just so much to do and so much to look at MagicCon that we may run out of time before we even realize we have. So I'll keep you guys posted. Once I find more cards, I will let you know and we'll put them in the deck. We're on a good track right now. I think we'll get this pulled off. All right, we made a few cuts to the list. I changed things up a little bit. I took out some of the cards that I thought were fringe, not really relevant to the strategy. Some cards that I had back home that made the list just because I happen to own them, but I don't think should be in there now. One of those was pre-war formalware. It's good to revive small value creatures that get destroyed over the course of a Commander game, but ultimately I would much rather be seeing something like Ramp or something like Proliferate so that we're able to take advantage of our strategy that we're trying to synergize with. There is a small quest counter engine in the deck as well. Quest counters are made from Aradesh, the founder, and Overseer of Vault 76. Both of those cards are decent together, and if I recall, I think Aradesh, one of them can be pulled off of Bright Glass Gearhulk, but I might be misremembering. Either way, now we're looking for a few of our more heavy-hitting cards that we did not grab in those first 11 that I saw, 11 or 12 cards, I should say. We're looking for Bristly Bill. He's a very good green card. Unfortunately, when I first made this list, he was about half the price he was now, so I'm going to have to pay a pretty penny for him if I choose to keep him in the list. but I could also swap him out for other really good solid green utility cards. I'm thinking of a few, but let's see if I can find him first. I also still need to get a Crater Hoof Behemoth, and I have a few other cards that I'm blanking on right now. Cards like Strip Mine. Yep, Strip Mine is another good one that I want to have, just as good land removal, because sometimes the people I play with, even outside of the TCGHQ videos, will use lands that interact with the board state in a really tricky way, so you have to be able to remove them. I'm typically not a huge fan of land removal, but sometimes it has to be done. That being said, we're back on the hunt. Let's do it. Alright guys, quick update. Progress has been made, and we went ahead and committed to getting ourselves a Bristly Bill. I reread this guy when I saw him in the case at one of the vendors, and yeah, he's really good. Basically a 1/1 counter in and of himself for not too much mana either. So yeah, we need it. So we're going to go ahead and throw it in the deck. Okay, time check. It is 1:10 p.m., which gives us just under 5 hours to finish this deck. At this point, I am interested in playing around with a lot of cards that I otherwise was not considering, because I've been going around these showcases and I've been looking at these different cards, seeing how they can be useful in the deck, especially for the new Spider-Man set. I have not really considered what the Spider-Man cards could look like in this deck. Spectacular Spider-Man specifically. He seems like he could be interesting because I can give him flying after I have given him a ton of 1/1 counters, and on top of that, he can protect my whole board if I need him to, if for whatever reason something's mass targeting my stuff, mass removing my stuff. I'm actually interested in seeing about grabbing, probably not one of the costume change ones, because those are like $1,000, but maybe something like, the regular alt art, the full art. That one's only like $5 or $10. We can get it, put it in our deck. That'll take the place of some more protection cards, and it's a creature, which I really like. So, yeah, we'll see what I end up doing. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break for some food, and then we'll get back at it. Okay, we're back at it. Now I'm looking to try and get some lands, and hopefully also find a few of the more important cards that we don't have yet. In particular, I'm missing a Crater Hoof Behemoth, and there's a few more that I'm blanking on. A lot of the challenge, I think, is going to come now is finding bulk that actually has Phyrexia cards in it, because that's where a lot of the cheaper cards come from. But a lot of these vendors do have like boxes of bulk to look through, so we'll see what we find. So far, so good. We have a little under 4 hours left after that lunch break I took. So yeah, I'll keep y'all posted. I've already found a few that I'm interested in, and I'll show that to you guys in a minute. We've got our hands on some more cards. This is the generous gift from the Sonic Secret Lairs, and in that stack of cards as well is an Inkmoth Nexus, a Crater Hoof Behemoth, and a few other cards. We are about 60% of the way there now. We have around 60 cards or so, and I still have a few hours to go. We're going to do what we can now. We've really hit a lot of the big stuff. Now we're trying to focus on the little smaller synergies that make the deck work. I'll have to take another look at the deck list, but so far it's looking really good. All right, guys, MagicCon is winding down. Things are still bumping, though. As you can hear behind me, there's still a ton of stuff going on. There's a dance floor that people are on. People are dressed up as a variety of different characters from a bunch of different IPs, because that's what Magic the Gathering has become. It's this intersection of Magic's own intellectual property and its own characters with people from Spider-Man, from Avatar, from so many different things. There's Sonic cards, there's Fortnite cards, all these things put together, and you have a convention that's really starting to transcend just Magic and is now becoming a pop culture phenomenon. You look at the showcases that are around all of these different vendors, and you'll see cards that have the faces of so many different iconic characters from so many walks of media. It's really exciting, and it's one of the interesting things about being in Magic right now, is that there's so many people who are drawn to it for so many different reasons, and that's one of the things that's making this MagicCon especially so much fun to be at. We've got a couple more cards, and I'm going to do one more run through the vendor hall, and then after that, we're going to go ahead and sleeve up all the cards we bought, and we're going to see how close we got to finishing this Black Panther deck. We have about an hour or so left, and with that hour, I'm going to break it down, see what we still need, see what I'll have to get post-con, but we got really close. We're going to be at least 70%. I think really we're only missing a couple of utility cards, a couple of win more cards, some of the cheaper things, and of course lands. all of those we can easily acquire outside of MagicCon. So as of right now, we'll of course see what it looks like, but I think we can consider this challenge a success. All right, everybody, we are finally in possession of what is nearly a completed commander deck for Black Panther Wakandan King. When I started today, I didn't even have the card itself. I didn't have Black Panther, the card. I didn't have really any of the pieces of this deck except for a few cards that I happen to have in my collection that I threw in to build this deck for this video. I wanted to get a head start so that when we came into MagicCon, we didn't have to look for too many things. Now, of course, Commander is a 100 card format, so we did have to look for a lot of different cards, despite my best efforts, and I think we came out pretty well. So not only do we have Black Panther, but we have a ton of cards to go over now, a lot of which are really awesome, some of the most powerful cards in these colors, and a bunch of really sweet, high-rarity versions that you really can only find in one place at something like MagicCon. And that's one of the things that makes MagicCon so exciting, is pretty much any card that you want to find, if you look hard enough, you can find it. So let's go ahead and go over all of the cards that we got today and what the deck is starting to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and just give a quick rundown of everything we're looking at. We've got Trouble in Pairs, one of the very best control pieces and stacks pieces in this format for the white color. We've got Argonath, Pillars of the Kings, otherwise known as the Ozolith, a very, very good card for +1/+1 counter strategies. We've got the One Ring, one of the most iconic Magic cards printed in the last 5 years. We've got a sweet Japanese alt art Teferi's Protection from the Strixhaven Mystical Archives. This was a pickup that wasn't on the list. This is the Bonder's Enclave card in Galaxy Foil. This card I think is going to be really good because I can draw cards as long as Black Panther has 2 or more counters on him, which is not hard to do at all. This is actually one of my favorite lands if you're playing green, because normally you're playing really big stompy creatures, and you can use this card every turn to draw a card if you don't have access to card draw in another way. Then of course we have Farewell. We have Elsbeth, Storm Slayer, and this is one of the very best arts that I think I picked up all day. And speaking of art, we also have Doubling Season. This art has been so like, whenever they announced this for the Wilds of Eldraine Enchanted Tales alt arts, this was one that stood out. Everybody was talking about it, and I really love it. It's probably my favorite Doubling Season art. And of course, another new addition to the list, Delighted Halfling, Blightsteel Colossus, Ouroboros. We picked up Arwen Mortal Queen in Surge Foil. She has an indestructible counter on her, and whenever we proliferate those, we didn't pick up most of our proliferate cards today, but when we manage to get those afterward, when we proliferate those, we'll be able to use her ability here multiple times. We got our hands on an incredible looking Inkmoth Nexus in Galaxy Foil from the Edge of Eternity set. We have a Johnny Sleeper Agent, one of our new pickups, March of the World Ooze. This card's going to let us make a ton of tokens and make our whole board incredibly powerful. Ancient Bronze Dragon for even more counters and incredible art on that as well. We've got Bright Glass Gear Hulk, District Mascot, a beautiful Arcane Signet we just picked up, and of course Llanowar Elves, Sandy Cheeks. We finally got our hands on our Craterhoof, a stunning Fabled Passage, another new addition to the list, Master Seymour. We were able to pick this guy up for a couple bucks in a binder at one of the booths, and my thought process was, you know, if we can find a decent card for not too much that helps us with our +1/+1 counter strategy, that's a good idea. Master Seymour lets us put counters on things every turn, assuming our board state is right for it. So I thought that was a no-brainer. Maybe he doesn't make the cut for the video in a few weeks, but for right now, he definitely does. And then, of course, we go through a few more Prosperous Innkeeper. Soul Ring is still in it for now. We got one of my favorite Smothering Tithe arts. This is the Judge promo. There were actually a lot of these being sold on the floor, and we were able to get it for a pretty good price. I love this art of the hand trying to break out of the gold like that. And then, of course, we have Guardian Project, This card is going to help us out a lot with card draw. We have a ton of card draw in this deck for a white-green deck, which is really exciting. The Sonic Secret Lair Art Generous Gift. We can get the focus on that. There we go. Flawless Maneuver. A beautiful Manifoil Mossborn Hydra. Had to pick this up when I saw it. It's a little hard to tell in the light here, but Manifoils have all of the mana symbols from Magic the Gathering printed into their foiling, which is incredible. Nissa Who Shakes the World, a raised foil from Bloomborough. We brought this one with us, of course. This is one of my cards from my personal collection that I added to the deck. Arwen, Weaver of Hope. I mentioned Spider-Man cards earlier. I mentioned Spectacular Spider-Man, but I ended up picking up Silk, Web Weaver. I thought this card was interesting because whenever we cast a creature spell, we get to create a token. That's going to trigger Black Panther's ability twice, which we really want. Rampaging Yaoguai. Inspiring Call. We got our hands on a really lovely strip mine, the Zendikar Rising Expedition strip mine. Secure the Wastes. Securitron Squadron, excuse me. Yeah, there we go. Marshall's Anthem. Hardened Scales. There we go. Get that Deathclaw in focus. A creature that I think is going to be really important to our endgame strategy. Kodama of the West Tree gives all of our modified creatures trample. So that's anything with a counter, any artifact or equipment, anything that's modified with, like, you know, they're saddled or anything like that. Specifically, though, we're going for counters. Whenever they deal damage to a player, we can search our library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. That'll trigger landfall synergies. We've got Austere Command, Waka, as mentioned before. We managed to get our hands on our Bristly Bill. Very nice. Kami of Whispered Hopes. Loading Zone. 3 visits. We were on a shrubbery. Rampaging Baloths. Wasn't able to find a foil one of him. Exotic Orchard. Canopy Vista. Windswept Teeth, followed up by 2 more very solid utility lands in Selesnya, our Pathway and our Shock. And then the rest is all more lands. All of those added up together is 70 total cards. What do I think was our pickup of the day? Well, I mean, we have to start, of course, with the Black Panther Commander himself. We managed to get our hand on him, which was really cool, and we had to ask a few tables as well to try to figure out where he was. But I'm going to go for, of all the cards we grabbed, I gotta go with this beautiful Ozolith. I really love the Lord of the Rings set. I really love the alt arts that they made for that set, and I've never actually owned an Argonath. Anytime I've used the Ozolith before in a deck, I've always used the regular printing from Ikoria. Having that's really cool. I really love the look of this deck, of course. I love it when I get to play with very shiny cards that all look unique and interesting. Magic's very good for that. All in all, I think MagicCon was a huge success this year. I had a lot of fun walking the hall, seeing what everybody was buying, everybody was playing, hanging out, seeing the cosplay. And yeah, I would highly recommend in the future, should you find yourself in a city where MagicCon happens to be, or you're planning on going yourself, definitely make the time to. This was a great experience. It was my first one, and I learned a lot. I had a great time. All in all, you know, I'm going to take this deck back to Cards HQ, and hopefully we can finish it. We can get all the cards that are on the Moxfield link in the description, the one that says updated. Hopefully we can find all those cards, we can finish this deck, and we can win that video. You'll be able to see that a few weeks after this one comes out. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate you. It's always a lot of fun to make videos at conventions, and we had a great response to the Gen Con video, and we're hoping for the same to this one. So if you liked it, please give it a like, consider sharing your thoughts in the comments below, and of course subscribe to TCGHQ from Form Magic, Star Wars Unlimited, Riftbound, Gundam, and a variety of different card game content coming your way in the near future. I've been Nick with TCGHQ. If you're looking to get any Magic the Gathering cards and you couldn't make it to MagicCon, consider going to cardshq.com for all of your Magic card needs. And we really appreciate you watching this video. We will see you in the next one. Take care.